You're listening to the REI Marketing Nerds Podcast, the leading resource for real estate investors who want to dominate their market online. Dan Barrett is the founder of AdWords Nerds, a high-tech digital agency focusing exclusively on helping real estate investors like you get more leads and deals online, outsmart your competition, and live a freer, more awesome life. And now, your host, Dan Barrett.
Hey guys, welcome back. You're listening to the second part of last week's episode. Let's jump back in.
So what was the thought process? You're like, okay, I'm just going to get in my car and find a deal. Like, what drove you, pun intended, to do that, you know?
So I'd done like 7 or 8 deals, right? And every single house I was driving down the street, looking up the address, and I'm driving down the street and I'd see it down the way. And I'm like, that's the house, right? You see the grass growing crazy. Like it was like, that's the ugly duckling. So I was like, dude, why don't I just drive through and just find the ugly ducklings? I was like, why am I buying these lists? Because I guarantee I'm marketing to a ton of houses that are loved and cherished. Because if someone has a property that they want speed and convenience over price, it's because the property is a thorn in their side. If the thorn in their side, they're not going to take care of general maintenance. Let's go look for houses that need TLC, that need work. So that's what I did. I went and wrote a list of 70 houses and I did a $9,000 deal. And I'm like, cha-ching, that is profitable.
So how are you finding the ugly ducklings? So you're literally just driving around looking?
Yeah, just driving around.
Just driving around and looking.
Yeah. So in the beginning, I was just writing down the addresses, looking up on county records who owned them. And then I was going to, I can't remember, it was like Twilio. It was some I had to create like this LLC. It was a pain in the butt to get phone numbers. Now they have all sorts of systems. It's so easy. Like now we use a piece of tech. It's an app called Deal Machine. When you're driving down the street, you can touch the house on the Google Maps image and boom, it uploads everything you need immediately. So it would take me days to build a list of 70. Now I can do 70 houses in literally an hour, right? And so it's completely changed the game. I mean, days to an hour is life-changing. So I have one driver now. We add 2,000 properties to our marketing list every single week. Every single week.
So you've got someone on the team whose job is purely to drive to the properties, check them out. And do they have like a checklist or sort of like an SOP for where it's like, okay, look for XYZ, see what's there? Or is it up to their judgment? Like, how do you?
Somewhat to judgment. We do have a list, right? A criteria and so forth, but that's what we do, right? Driving for dollars. Essentially, we drive, find ugly houses, reach out and see if they want to sell for speed and convenience. Yeah. Right. From there, then you can get these properties at a massive discount. You can wholesale them, you can flip them, you can buy and hold, right? Whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish in your goals. So that's kind of what happened, and so that was the very beginning of 2018. By the end of the year, we did just shy of $500,000.
Wow.
So that changed my life. And then at the end of that year is when I accidentally became a coach. And the next year I coached only like 20, 30 people. But I did 1.2 million in my wholesaling business because of driving for dollars that next year. So I went from like struggling to do a deal to like, boom, my business blew up.
So and not just blew up, right? Because to walk backwards is make sure I have the numbers right? It's like you went from basically nothing to 500K, and then you went from 500K to nearly 1.5 million, right? So you basically went from 0 to 1 and then 1 to 3 in a period of 2 years. That's like absolutely massive, right? So do you think, or do you attribute some of that to the fact that driving for dollars is, because there's labor involved? Do you think that people avoid that as a marketing channel because they're just like, I want the easiest possible thing, like to click it and send it or whatever? Is that kind of like the moat that you think keeps people out of it?
100%. Because what do all the giant operations? So if you go to like these masterminds for successful investors like myself, right? What are they pushing? Pay-per-click. They're pushing buying lists from like PropStream Giant, buying giant lists, 100,000, 200,000 people on this list, blanketing with postcards and texting hundreds of thousands of postcards. I know like one of our biggest guys here, he spends over $100,000 a month in marketing. Yeah. It's insane. I think he does probably like 2.5, 3 million a year in gross. But dude, I spend, and so I've tested PPC. I've tested bandit signs. I've tested radio. I still do radio. It's okay. I've tested a bunch of different other marketing channels. Of course, I want as much money as possible, but I spend no more than 15% of my gross revenue on marketing. That leaves me an 85% profit margin to pay my team. It's how I don't do any of the work and still pull a 50% profit margin. It's because my cost per lead, my cost per deal is so cheap. And like you said, it's barrier of entry. It's work up front. But on top of that, no one's going to ever have your exact same list. You go pull the tax delinquent list at the beginning of the year, everyone and their dog's doing it. When there's a pre-foreclosure list that gets sent out by the title companies, everyone's door knocking it. Right. But you now have a list that, is yours alone. And I attribute so much of my success to driving for dollars. Did I work hard? Sure. But is there a ton of people that work harder than me and know how to work like I do? Yeah. So it's not like I'm a unicorn, but what's unique is how I was approaching getting these deals. That's what was like, boom, blew up.
Yeah, it seems to me, right? Like it comes back to this sort of core concept. We're talking about different people optimizing for different currencies, right? And by all means, like I'm an online marketing person, is what I love, right? By all means, if I am optimizing for time over all else, right? I'm willing to pay extra money to whatever, hire a service to do something for me that I don't want to do. But if you are optimizing for, like in your case, right? And I don't, maybe this was conscious in the beginning, but ended up being the case. You kind of optimize for margin. And when you optimize for margin, you can do fewer deals and actually make more money, right? You can actually work less and succeed more quickly. So it's all about, well, what's that currency that you're optimizing for? I mean, it makes a lot of sense to me. So I'm curious. So, and I've never driven for dollars, right? I barely drive my car to the grocery store, right? Like I ride my bike to work. Like I love my car, but whatever. So when you set out and you're like, okay, I'm going to go driving for dollars. I'm going to find these, like you said, not necessarily on anybody else's list, but no one's going to have the same list as me. Are you just driving and scanning like randomly? Do you set up like a grid like over the city? And like, I'm imagining, just so you know, what I imagine is like, if you ever see in a movie where someone's tracking a serial killer and they've got the map on the wall and they've got all the thumbtacks with like the string and stuff, like that's what I'm picturing, right? So like, what does that look like in practice? Like, how do you go out and start that process? Do you start with a list or like where does it start?
Yeah. So when I first started, like my story, it is not even close to what I do now, right? I didn't have any tech. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I had no experience or even someone to tell me what to do. It's like, oh, go drive around, look for ugly houses. Okay. Like that was all that was out there that I found out about. So I can tell you what my business looks like now because it's much more sexy and it's, the best way to do it.
Sure. Give us the sexier version. Look, I'm trying to get downloads here, Zach. All right.
Okay. All right. Let's give some value, some action steps, meat and potatoes, like Tom Kroll says. So this is what we do now, right? So you can Google your median house price and then your city. Okay. And it'll probably pull up Zillow and it'll say the median house price. Then you're going to go to Zillow solds, for sales, and you're going to scan through for numbers that are at or below that median house price.
Okay.
And then you're going to click on those listings that are medium or lower and make sure they're not condos and townhomes and that kind of stuff, right? You're looking for single family homes and small multifamilies. You want areas where the houses are built after 1990 and older. The oldest deals we do are like 1984, 1985. Okay. So our criteria,
you want they're more recent builds, not older builds, is what you're saying.
No, you want older builds.
Oh, okay.
So no newer than 1990. Okay. That's the criteria of where to go drive. Okay. Now that you identify those areas, now you're going to go drive, right? What we use is the Deal Machine app. The reason we use the Deal Machine app is for a few reasons. It's extremely efficient and it's very cost effective, right? So the cool thing with Deal Machine is you can hit start, drive, and end drive. So it'll route track and highlight the streets you've been on. So when you go to drive the next day, you know where you've been exactly, and you're going to be able to grid your entire area. So you'll identify where, then use Deal Machine to go drive those areas, right? And go up and down those streets. I had one student's like only right turns, right? So you'd skip a street and then right turn, skip a street, right turn. So you do.
Like UPS, I think.
Yeah. He's getting like 150 houses an hour, just, anyway, so any house with physical signs of neglect. On the Deal Machine app, there's 3 ways to add properties. Originally, you only could take a picture. In 2018, they're like, Zack, we want you to promote us. We want you to use us. And I said, not until you can add the properties by touching them on the phone. I don't want to get out of my car and take a picture. So you got to make sure you turn it on to the tap to add version. So it'll show the Google Maps. You can do maps or satellite imagery. And then as you're driving down the street, you can just touch the houses. Right. And at this time, I was designing my own app when Deal Machine came out, and I had a $50,000 deposit down with an app developer. And then Deal Machine heard me speak at an event, and they're like, Zack, like, promote us, help us, be our face, like, let's do this. And I said, okay, great. Let me get my 50 grand back, because I don't want to own an app. This is not my thing. I just want the tech to make money. Right. So they've made some awesome updates. So the route tracking, the master map, the tap to add, all those things were things that I suggested they add in there, and they're amazing. It's super efficient, very accurate data. You can buy phone numbers in there, or you can export that Excel spreadsheet that's created. Once you now have this beautiful marketing list, you can call them or text them or send postcards right within the Deal Machine app. What I do is I want to do it more efficiently than what they offer. So I have a multiple line dialer. I've used mojosales.com in the past. We're just currently switching over to Call Tools, calling through multiple phone numbers at one time. Right? I have VAs in the Philippines that are calling it. We do 3 rounds of cold calling on our Driving for Dollars list. At the same time, I have someone texting this list using batch leads to do the texting. We do 2 rounds of text messages, and then whoever we don't get a hold of, we do 2 rounds of postcards. And I get about the same ROI in every single one of those outreach strategies. I spend roughly anywhere between 9 cents and 18 cents to make $1 on each of those outreach strategies.
Is that because like the response rate is relatively consistent, or just like, like
some people don't answer their phone or text messages. They just don't. So the postcard is what they'd prefer, right? Some people get the postcard, they hold on to it for 2-3 months, right? And we track it all. I mean, we track exactly how many we send to the exact amount, how many pennies we spend, how many responses, how many leads, how many appointments, how many contracts, total revenue, in our net. So we know exactly what's working, and we've tested this and automated it. And the reason it's gotten so much better from when it first started only 3 years ago, 3.5, actually more than that, about 4 years ago when I started doing it. No, wait, it's been more. Oh my gosh. No, it's been 4 years.
Yeah. Sorry. Time has been weird this last couple of years. So
yeah. Last 7 years of my life has been like, woo, crazy.
Check your birth certificate and just make sure,
Yeah. It's like, am I 40 or am I 33? I don't remember,
Want to find motivated seller leads online, but don't know where to start? Download our free Motivated Seller Keyword Report today. AdWords nerds have spent over $5 million this year researching the most profitable keywords for finding motivated seller leads. And you can grab these exact keywords when you download our report at www.adwordsnerds.com/keywords.
So anyway, I started coaching kind of by accident, like I mentioned, right? Yeah. And I think this is really important to understand, like, why this system is so amazing and why it's so profitable. And it's not because I'm so smart and I've tested everything. I've had the opportunity to work with others all across the country and test this and really tweak this system. So what happened was in 2018, October, Tom Kroll asked me to speak at a live event in Asheville, North Carolina. So I flew out there, I spoke, and I shared, this is exactly what we're doing, how we just did $500,000 in revenue with Driving for Dollars. We just started in February. Like, it's amazing. And, I think there was like 200 people there. And I said, if you guys want more details and information and a breakdown email of all of the things I shared, like, just shoot me an email. Dude, I had like 170 emails. I was like, oh no, what have I done? So I had to go through and like email everybody.
Email everybody individually.
Yeah, dude, I'm an idiot. I was like, I should have some systems in place before I do stupid stuff like this. But I just wanted to help people. I just wanted to give back, right? It was my personality. And, plus I love Tom Kroll. He changed my life. I wanted to help him, I wanted to like give back to him as well. And anyways, I met a guy there at an event, and he invited me to do a self-help journal with him. It's called Living Your Best Year Ever. And in there, the first 100 pages, it's all about who you have to be, who you have to become to accomplish the big goals. And then it helps you create 3 big goals. The one big goal that I had is I wanted to do $1 million in revenue the next year. And I was pinching myself. I did $500,000. So I had no idea how, but it said, whatever you wanted to receive, you had to give it away. If you want love, you give love. If you want money, you give money. So in my mind, I had to give away $1 million. And I was like, well, I don't have $1 million, not even close. Right. Like, how do I do that? And plus I want the $1 million. I don't want to give it away.
It's the if I got it and then I gave it away, I wouldn't have it.
Yeah. It's like,
yeah.
But I was like, that sounds really cool. Right. Like I want to take this thing serious. It kind of like stuck with me. And so I was thinking about it for days, and I talked to my wife. I was like, babe, like, I want to do this. How do we do this? And she's like, just teach. You could teach people how to do it. It was her idea. She knew me more than I knew myself, I think. And so I went to Tom Kroll and I said, Tom, I have this crazy idea. I want to find 10 people. I want to put $100,000 on average into each of their pockets. I have a goal of making $1 million, so I have to give it away. So I need to find 10 people and teach this driving for dollar system that's changed my life that I spoke about on stage. He said, oh, easy peasy, bam, let's do it. You know, the old Tom Kroll sayings. And he wears like these yellow
Tom Kroll response.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you guys like, just picture, right, this guy, and he's just this fluffy guy, and he's got these orange and pink and yellow polos. You know, he drives a golf cart around in Florida. That's your guy. Okay. Love him. And he's my people for sure. So anyways, he's like, hey, this is what we're going to do. You cannot coach them for free because they will not implement and do what you need them to do to make that money. So they have to pay you. So they're going to each pay you $2,000. And then you're going to give all of the money to me, and I'm going to teach you how to coach. And I'm like, deal, let's do it, man. That sounds amazing. So it's exactly what we did, right? And we went to work teaching these students. So I'm coaching for free and being coached how to coach them more efficiently. It was never about me making money as a coach. It was never about me. It was 100% to give back, 100%. Yeah. And it changed my life because they started asking me questions, and I realized how dumb I was, how many huge mistakes. I'll give you one example that'll make you sick. So they're like, Zach, I've sent my postcards. I put the tracking number, set it up like you said, and I'm receiving phone calls, but not text messages. How do we get the text message to come through? And I'm like, I've never received a text message. So I like go into my back end. I see all these text messages like, I want to sell my house.
No, you were getting them the whole time. You just didn't even know they were in there.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars down the drain. I like sick to my stomach, right? I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so stupid. And so, but like, these are like one of the many things. And then we're testing and we're looking at their numbers and they're tracking what they're doing. And we're perfecting the system. At the end of that year, I did 1.2 million because I was teaching and perfecting what I was doing. But even more important than all of that is my love of coaching. Like it was like the seed inside of me that blew up. It would be now I do, one person, someone else's podcast every week. I do 2 of my own podcasts. I do 4 YouTube videos. I do 10 TikToks, 3 Instagram reels, 2 emails every single week to help people. Wow. Every single week. Right. So I love this stuff. I live for it. And
by the way, as someone who does a podcast and tries to do YouTube and blah, 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 like that's a lot of output. Like that is a lot of material. Like if someone's listening to this and they don't really do that stuff, that's a lot, man, on top of running your business and actually coaching and all that stuff.
Yeah, and I have over 300 students. They all have my cell phone, right? Like I live for this stuff, right? So what happened was, like my first student, Michael McLeish, he knew that like those 10, they knew my goal. They knew what their job was, to make $100,000 at least, right? Like you guys need to do this so I can hit my goal. And my very, very first student, Michael McLeish, like a year and a half later, he texted me. He's like, I've now made $1 million off my driving for dollar system. Thank you.
Wow.
First student ever, $1 million, dude.
I was like, they're all
did it for all of them.
Yeah.
My very first one, he's in Greenville, North Carolina or South Carolina. I know there's a North Carolina. I have students in both Greenvilles now, but anyways, and then Scott Dallinger, Portland, Oregon, his first deal, he was like my third student, 113 grand. His first deal, selling a piece of paper, quit his corporate job, life-changing, right? They weren't my very first students, but like I have these amazing students, Aaron Gaunt and Michaela Gaunt. He was a broke fireman trying to fight for custody for his daughter, like major, problems there. Was cold calling from the firehouse, trying to get deals. In the first 6 months, made 50 grand, quit his job, was able to get full custody of his daughter, got married to Michaela, and they asked me to marry him. Right. And they have this incredible business now. I'm super close to him. And so for me, I found my purpose. I found my calling. Real estate gave me financial freedom, gave me that success. And it also gave me something that I understand and that I understand can change lives, and gave me something to change lives. Right? It gave me something to teach.
Yeah, it's so cool, man. It's such a powerful lever to change people's lives. Okay, so we're coming up on time. I have to ask you about the YouTube challenge that you did. So I want to, for people that were listening to this, I mentioned at the beginning, it was dfdmastery.com/40 in 40. Those are the numbers. So 40 in 40. I'm going to put that link on the show notes. You can get those at AdWordsNerds.com, but dfdmastery.com/40 in 40. So give people the pitch for this, because they can actually go there, go to this link, and sort of get all this stuff and really walk through this whole process that you went through with you, which is so cool. But give people a pitch for this if they don't know what it was. What was the 40 in 40 challenge that you did?
Yeah. So if you remember my story, if y'all are still with me or even paying attention, maybe I bored the heck out of you. But
everybody is paying attention at this point in the podcast.
Yeah,
this has been very, very cool. So I think,
thank you. Well, awesome. So if you guys remember, I had mentioned a guy named Stan, right, that gave me 2 of his properties, and it gave me this belief and this confidence.
The guy in the lawn. Yeah. You were talking his face off. Yeah. Okay.
Stan. Yeah. Talking his face off, 100 grand in one deal. And it gave me the belief, right? So when I started coaching, I discovered the number one obstacle for people to become successful was their belief. I can't do it because I'm not capable because, and I'm like, man, I used to think the same things, and they say, oh, every mentor's out there just to take my money. Are there guys out there doing that? Yeah, 100%, right? Be careful who you hire. But I wanted people to see that it was real, that it was possible. And it's like, I got this gift. I met Stan, right? Did God give it to me? Was it chance? Was it luck? Ultimately, I got something that I don't know that I necessarily deserved. And I wanted to give that to someone else. I wanted to give that belief, because if you have belief that you can do it, you'll do what I did, which is work your tail off. You'll give it 100%. And I promise you, if you give it 100%, you'll have success. And if you have success, you'll be like, see, I knew I was the man. I was the gal. I could do this. Right. And then you're going to give it even more effort, and you're going to spiral upwards in life. But if you go at it with half belief and you don't believe it, then you're going to spiral downwards in life, because you're not going to give effort. You're not going to get results. And you say, I knew I was not capable. I knew I wasn't, the person to do this. And so I wanted to give that gift. And so I was like, I have to show people, they have to see it live. Right. So I took 40,000 or my goal was to make the average American income. It's $40,000 in just 40 days. Right. And plus I couldn't do it where I lived, because I have all my connections and my team, and I had to go somewhere I'd never been. Plus I couldn't start with a ton of money, right? Because y'all probably don't have a ton of money to dedicate to this. So I got $1,000, and my goal is to make the average American income in just 40 days. So I flew across the country, and I took that $1,000 and I did exactly what we've been talking about: driving for dollars, cold calling. I didn't leave my house for 4 days straight, cold calling from the time I woke up to the time I went to bed. It was absolutely horrible, but it made amazing content, right? I ended up doing, I got 7 properties under contract. Okay. I'll break these down. I got 7 properties under contract in that time frame. 2 of them I canceled. 3 of them, or no, sorry. How many did I do? Let's do the ones I closed. I'm confusing them. I did 3 wholesale deals. We'll just talk about the ones where I just got the contract and sold the contract, right? First one, I made $10,000. Second one, I made $30,000. Last one, I made $55,000. Or $53,000. So I made $93,000 in wholesale fees. The other 2 properties I kept as rentals. So I actually kept 2 as rentals with over $100,000 in equity. I could not pass them up. They were completely remodeled, $55,000 each. They were currently rented for over $850 and doubled my net worth overnight. Plus they cash flowed like crazy. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to, and it's funny. And you'll see, I'm like, Tom, should I wholesale these or should I just keep these? He's like, well, show them how much money you can make. You got to sell them. I was like, yeah, dude, I like money too much. So I kept them. So I kept 2 properties, and then 2 of them I had to cancel. I wasn't able to find a buyer for them. I was under contract too high. It was kind of a learning curve of being there. So you guys can see it day by day, step by step of me doing this. I show what I'm doing. I share the tools, the systems. You see the conversations. You see me say, Jerry, why don't you just sell it with a real estate agent? You'll make more money. And you'll hear people literally say, I don't care. I want speed and convenience, right? It's powerful stuff. When you see those conversations, you see they exist, you know that you guys can do it.
I mean, I love this. And again, for people, if you want to go and sort of get all this stuff and actually be able to watch the entire process that Zack goes through, again, it's dfdmastery.com/40in40. The number is 40in40. So the reason I love this, right, is like I feel like the most common questions that people have for successful people, right? If you're talking to a mentor, you're talking to a coach, you just meet like, I remember Dan Kennedy is one of my favorite marketers, right? Old school sort of direct mail copywriter guy, real fun to listen to, real, just tough old cuss kind of personality. One of the questions he would always get from audience members is, if you had to start over tomorrow, what would you do? Right? And you basically just did that to yourself. You like made yourself start over, like in a different part of the country, which is like amazing. So like, I highly suggest if you were listening to this, you're a real estate investor, you like marketing, you are interested in growing your business, you need to go check this out. dfdmastery.com/40in40. Again, those are the numbers. All this stuff will be in the show notes at AdWordsNerds.com. Zack, this has been awesome, dude. Like, I will be honest, like, I don't, I'm an online marketing person. I don't know a ton about driving for dollars. It's been super educational for me. You got me pumped up about driving, which I don't even like. So I can imagine that a lot of people are listening to this and getting really excited. If they want to follow up with you, learn more about you and what you do, is the dfdmastery.com/40in40. Is that the best place to go? Is there anywhere else you want people to check out?
Yeah. I mean, whatever social media platforms you guys like, I'm there. Right. So I will have unique content to every platform. If you're on the podcast, you obviously like podcasts. So definitely check out my podcast, Driving for Dollars Mastery. Everything I have is titled Driving for Dollars Mastery. So websites, podcasts, YouTube channels, Instagrams, TikToks, all of that stuff. So wherever you guys consume content, go there. I'm active on my DMs. I obviously have people that'll help me, but I do look at every single one of my DM platforms. So if you DM, I will see it. Okay. So feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to serve and bless your life. It's an honor and a privilege to be able to do so.
All right. Well, I fully expect people listening to this to slide into your DMs. I'm telling you to do it. If you have not done it, slide into Zack's DMs. That is Zack Boothe, which has an E at the end, BOOTHE, Driving for Dollars Mastery. Zack, thank you so much for coming on, man. This was awesome.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it was absolutely my pleasure. And that is it. That's the end of this week's episode. As always, thank you so much for being here every week. It means a lot to us. I would love if you could give this podcast a review or a like or a subscribe. However you can support. It helps other people find the show, and I read every single one. As always, this is Daniel Bear from AdWordsNerds.com signing off. I will see you next week. Cheers.
This is the podcastfactory.com.